Sands, and Gail and Judy. To get you all used to microphones, I'll be up here. So I'm just so honored that Judy and Gail asked me to be with them this evening as the MC, and very grateful that they also said, bring some of your own poetry in the form of songs. So I'm going to do that in a bit. But first, we are going to listen to some poetry by Gail Entrekin. Gail is a multi-talented and astonishing sort, of course, and hardly any of you need this introduction, but I'm going to say it anyway. She's an editor, of course, of the online journal of the environment Canary, which is canarylitmag.org, if you're interested, and she's poetry editor of Hip Pocket Press. She's also, of course, a teacher, as we just heard so charmingly. Well, that wasn't about you, that was about Judy. She taught college English literature and creative writing for 25 years. She's also a quilt maker. I've had the opportunity to see those exquisite pieces, not in person, but sometimes on Facebook. She's also, of course, a mother, and we're going to hear about that today in her reading. And of course, and not above all, but last not least, that kind of phrase, she's a poet. She has 6 books of poetry and counting, and her poems, which are widely published, have been, among other accolades, and I think this, or as a student of mine calls them accolades, she's been a finalist for the Pablo Neruda Prize, winner of the Western States Award, and the Women's National Book Association Prize. She's also placed runner-up, or other prizes include Steve Coet Poetry Prize, the Catamaran Poetry Prize, and she's poetry has been shortlisted for the Frontier Open Prize. Gail and Charles, as most of you know, were here in the 90s and the early aughts. They were incredibly important about vivifying our local literary scene, especially in their unbelievable support of every kind of our 2 sort of large events that we had at the time, Literature Alive and the wonderful Word Slingers Festival. We're always going to be so grateful to them for that. And her recent book, Walking Each Other Home, which she came up to read from just a couple of years ago now, I think, is her beautiful collection about her beloved husband's terminal illness in her beautiful, usual Gail Entrekin humor and yet darkness all being able to come together at the same time. And that book was in manuscript form a finalist for both the Blue Light Prize and the Richard Snyder Prize, and was published by Longship Press. And her recent book of poems, which I'm just so excited to hear from, it's called The Mother-Daughter Papers. And it was, in manuscript form, a finalist for the Comstock, the Cutbank, and the Open Box Chapbook Prizes. And it's just been published by Orchard Street Press. Please welcome the wonderful Gail Entrekin to join us. Yep.
Her sandals came up March, so she's barefoot. Yes, it's the first time I ever worn them, and they both the bottoms go up. We got one mic there. Yeah. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. Yeah. Is that comfy for you? Yeah, that's fine. So it's great to see so many old friends. Thank you for coming up. I was not sure whether there would be very many people here, and it's just great to see you all. Thank you. So the first, these are, the poems in the book are in chronological order from the year that Katie was in utero in 1986. Yeah, is that right? 1988.
I have 3 kids in the 80s, so she's in 88. And then they proceed through the recent years when she's had a couple of children of her own. And the first one is called Sweet Kate. Katie was an 11-pound, 4-ounce baby, so you'll understand that reference in the poem. I carry you before me like the planet Earth, bend under your weight, the blue map of your secret genes spreading over the white flesh of my belly like a net. Your fish knowledge in the first dark world, the story I am waiting to read. My veins swell to the surface, blue saltwater knots, your first scars on my life, so that I long to lay you down in the lap of a patient man, even, I think now, even if he should take you up like a bunch of flowers and lift it to his face, his startled lips, you should alter him, suffuse him with the knowledge of another woman, making him never wholly mine again. But it turns out love is not a zero-sum game. There's a lot of it. You can love lots of people at the same time. That didn't turn out to be a problem at all. This is called The Nothing after Sartre. A 3-year-old wanders to a corner. Does she climb into a car and disappear? My bare feet thump softly on the carpeted stair, pause before each closet, each hiding place, my breath loud in the silence. Her name pierces all the dusty corners. The children rush up and down the street calling. The neighbors assemble. Lifting the phone in the air too thin to breathe, it is clear that in the next few minutes I will fall. On one side, laughter over dinner, how silly it all turned out to be. On the other, an impenetrable blackness. Her sweatshirt is blue, yes, blue, with snowmen holding multicolored balloons. Her hair is blonde. The children race up for new assignments, rush off to check the corner, the meadow one more time. I am amazed at the difficulty of breathing. With my fist, I try to press my lungs and heart back into rhythm. The phone rings. An officer has your daughter at the corner of Derby and Telegraph. I fall. I feel the falling as small explosions in my eyes, everything watery, flowing and running, and all those police cars arriving, and she comes calmly saying, "Mommy, you were looking for me everywhere." And everyone is patting me, joking, smiling indulgently, because it was the thing, but not the thing. It was nothing. Nothing. I don't know how to do that. Anybody know how? Maybe if I just put my mouth right on the mic. Okay. All right. I'll do that. It's hard because it's like right on my mouth. Okay. This is called The Relay. Did you miss the first 2 poems? No. Okay. The Relay, for my mother, for my daughter. A good start was crucial. I waited until I caught the runner in my peripheral vision, heard her feet beating the ground behind me at the precise distance, began to uncurl and rise. I felt clumsy at first, disoriented, held my hand back open flat, fingers aligned, so I wouldn't bobble the baton. She powered up behind. I tuned every muscle to understand her emotion, her speed, her grip, her experienced pass. I fell in with her body's intent, kept my own stride. I gather speed. The baton slaps into my palm like scalpel to surgeon, and we are perfectly synchronized for one breath. Now she is dropping behind, slowly turning away, and I focus forward. Ignore her passing so she won't interfere with my rhythm. Pump my arms and legs, begin to ache, but I press on past burning hot breathing, push through to the moment when body is flowing outside conscious direction, when it works perfectly, heart, lungs, all rhythms informed by some sort of grace. I move into the patch of sun before the very center of the stands where all the invisible gods and mayors leap to their feet and the cheering's a distant roar in the heat at the back of my mind, and just as I almost break into flight, I spot the small runner waiting ahead, crouched in the distant shaded curve of track. I notice I'm clenching the smooth wood, feel the ache in my hand, the slippery sweat running, and I loosen my grip. Begin to consider the style and capacity of the runner uncurling now in the distance. Measure her awkward rise, her small cold legs. See her glance back and then begin to move forward swiftly, increasing as I pound toward her, trying to match my stride. I think, no, run it your own way. I'll throw you off. She feels my thought, lengthens out into her own stride as I cross the baton into my right hand without breaking my pace. Move with her, feel her desire, extend, Clap it firmly into her flattened palm. Will it to be taken cleanly. Feel it taken. Stay with her 3 paces. Pray. Be fast. Look forward. Go. I slacken. Run it out so the muscles don't cramp as I slow. Veer off. Come to a stop in the shade. The cool wind blowing across my wet skin as I watch her disappear. When Katie was 11, she was diagnosed with type 1 childhood diabetes, and so there are quite a few poems in the book about that section of her life. The conversation. On the plane to Cleveland, across the aisle, my daughter gives herself a shot, learning to perform this ritual in public places. The woman beside me tells me sympathetically about her friend whose 2 children both died of diabetes. Long, hopeless deaths of kidney failure, blindness, and amputated feet. I slide to the floor sobbing, my hands to my face, my heart leaping against my ribs. Or no, I turn and slap her hard. Her face registers honest amazement. Her eyes fill with tears. Well, no. I look to make sure my daughter didn't hear. I excuse myself politely, walk back to the restroom. I stand there a long time, shaking. I think people do that because it's the only thing they have in common with what you've just told them, and they don't think through how that might impact you if they say that. I think I'll skip the rest of the diabetes poems. You get the gist of that. This one's called You Mean. Oh, wait, you didn't want me to skip that one, did you? I'm sorry. Someone whose child has diabetes, newly diagnosed, asked me to read this one, so I will. Things you never thought you could do. Say you went to the refrigerator in your socks and found, beside the yellow bowl of lime jello and bananas, 2 small vials of insulin, Humalog for the fever of sandwiches and cake, and Ultralente for the long nights. Say you went to wake your daughter, the one with dreamy doe eyes, who drifts into and out of days on an aimless excursion, taken up by the beauty of every leaf, and who has yet to fasten her silver spirit to a forward-moving engine. Say you found her on the bathroom floor half naked, wedged between the tub and toilet, her long arms twitching with small animal noises bubbling from her mouth. Would you weep? Would you step back in shock and look away, wait for someone who knew what to do to appear? An EMT, a specialist, your mother? No, you would not. You would step forward and pull her up into your arms. You would send one of the children for her blue denim bag from the kitchen counter, rub the tube of glucose gel into her gums. In a loud, firm voice, you would tell her, swallow, swallow, and you would not relent. If she lay heavily against your breast, her teeth locked against your fingers, you would lay her easily on the white bath mat and turn to the cloth bag for the long red case, the emergency syringe you have studied but never used. Standing at the mirror, you would fill the syringe with glucagon, your freckled hands shaking hard out over the sink. You would turn back to her long flank, brown with summer swimming, kneel down and slide the needle quick before you could think into the muscle, ease the plunger down. Then you would sit down on the floor, pull her into your lap and wait. Waiting, would you croon her name, rock her, sing her baby songs, caress the lank hair back from her empty face. And later, after her lost-looking eyes, the mysteries of the words chew, cracker, table, the nausea, vomiting, the stepping into the shower beside her to help her remember how to wash her hair. Would you sit in the front seat of your best friend's car, clutch your bottled water, and sob? Say after slipping into her room every night to stick her fingers, check her blood sugar, you lay awake for hours refiguring her carb to insulin ratios. In the mornings, watching her laugh, would you recalculate the value of every hour? Bad times. They have insulin pumps now and CMGs and all these kind of computer-oriented stuff that you don't have to do all that anymore. You don't have to stick your finger all the time. You don't have to do all that math. It was so much math and she was 11, but she was good at math. This poem is called You Mean. Working this shiny skeins of hair into smooth golden braids down to her waist, I ask companionably whether the tooth fairy brought anything interesting last night. In a flat voice, she says, You mean. And then we are caught up in the storm of school-bound forces as she rushes out to feed the cats, and the others swarm in to fill the void, and the Susan B. Anthony dollar shines in its own secret mystery under her pink flannel pillow. All day the dollar shines behind my eyes, the magic of it, the pink glittered wings of the fairy who slipped it in by night, made off with her second molar in a purple velvet bag. At the end of yoga class, we lie flat in the dark, Shavasana. The teacher says, experience the joy of all you have. And the fairy flits across the dark bank of the moonlit river of my heart on her way to another, younger child. The Hole in the House. This is end of high school. Already shadows lengthen in the corners of the house where you tend to settle. The window seat you sleep in when the other girls are here. The table in the corner covered in papers, wadded dance clothes, wrinkled lunch bags. The space you commandeered long ago and have occupied these years. Deep in your books, analytical mind, you sit your back to the room, your CD player winking to the beat, your orange cat sprawled on her back beside you on the table, soaking up heat from the burning lamp. Already you were taking on the luminous transparency of the leaving. You hug more quickly and with your jacket on. You tell your stories still, but beyond me, you are glancing at the door. Already the cat who sleeps with you is puzzling over something new in the air, burrowing back into your unsettling scent. And I, alone in the car and feeling fine, suddenly cry, suddenly sob, because soon there will be no chance of passing you on the road in your silver truck. And soon, when I walk into the house, your blue room will boom its silence, its emptiness into every room, and echo down to me, find me standing in sunlight, your soft cat in my arms, my face buried in her winter coat. Spring break. Waiting for her in the airport, standing in the throng below the escalator, watching arriving passengers descend, I fall into a reverie. Week 3, her father's chemo, and for a minute I disappear. And when I come to, she is tapping my shoulder, her whole face smiling, her long hair swinging across her eyes. Her backpack on her strong shoulders, she bends to me, smelling the way she does of fruit and hot sun, and a weight inside me shifts. I reach out for her. Something black lifts and floats away. For 13 days, even if her goings are more than her comings, even if I close my lips firmly on the mouthful of fear, I'll open my windows to let in all her shine. Her voice will roll pleasantly over me, bathing me in long stories, laughter, music from another room. Katie's home, and all the lights are on at my house. Just do a few more. This one is Chance's Mother's. That night at my mother's small apartment, I'd been tossing all night on the narrow daybed in the alcove room. She came to the doorway in her blue nightgown, asked if I was all right. I can't sleep, I said, sitting up. Would you, she asked tentatively, almost politely, would you like to lie down on my bed, on one side of my bed? She carefully chose her words, did not say beside me or with me. Quickly, before I thought or felt what I wish now I'd thought or felt, oh no, I said, no, I'll be fine. She backed away. Okay, she said, turning to her room. And she was gone, and there never came another chance to lie beside my mother in this life. Waiting to be a grandmother for Beth. Hundreds of miles from here, she lies laboring, groggy and weak, from 3 hours of pushing against the fuzzy, shapeless thing that will not come. Somewhere down there a baby waits, while a muffled train roars against her backbone, wailing its need to pass. My son's voice on his cell phone, ebullient and confident at 9 this morning, sounds strained and exhausted at 3. The rain moves up the canyon, hovers black on the hillside. Within this daughter-in-law, sacred as an uncut book, closed eyes, red lipstick, scarred mouth, the tenderest girl calls out for drugs. Some help for the baby riding on choppy seas, a lone voyager in a solid boat, heavy fog. Come rain, let this child be given. Let this girl fall back in warm blankets with no memory of pain. Let time speed and this brave job be done. Well done. Come rain. I think 2 more. I've lost track of the time. I think I may have gone long. Sorry about that. Sunday morning. You lie between us, a Skylar sandwich. And I tell you how I saw the moon so full last night like a silver peach hanging in the black, black sky. And you want to see the moon. You want to see. And you scuttle across the sheets and Grandpa rolls over, holds your hands, dangles you down along your tummy till your feet meet the floor. And you pad quickly to the door in your sleeper with pink octopuses on this Sunday morning, disappointed to find no moon, only new washed blue. And we try to explain, how the moon and the sun are not usually out together, one in the day, the other at night, and we get carried away with the grandeur of the cosmos. Say too much, and you lose the thread. Reply that your mousse is soft and that you need a bath, and so we let it go and move along. A very good lesson for us all. I think I'll make this one my last one. Waiting for my daughter's baby, week 36. In Ljubljana, half asleep, Kate listens to the heartbeat of Matej curled beside her on the mattress in the heavy orb of her belly, like a swollen seed inside a gourd. Head down, he's pressed against the round door to the passageway out into the loud and glaring air. But now he knows only the red dark, the muffled thump of his mother's metronome, the liquid shushing around and in him, her rumble tune as she speaks quietly to the darker, deeper voice nearby, whales under the sea, sending their enigmatic songs across the miles. Here in California, half asleep, I am receiving the sound waves from her heart, made once of my very cells, blood, and tissues, imagining his little song, his knee and knuckle dance when he presses his way down, the pink opening of faces, and they begin his inexorable journey. Thank you so much.
So I was very inspired by knowing that Gail, two things, knowing that Gail was going to read from her book, Mother-Daughter Papers. So I reached into Antique Times, and because I remembered this song I wrote for my mother so long ago, and it was, I have various reasons why I probably never have played it. And also because when I wrote this song, I thought I was going to have children, and it was painful for me to sing it. But it was about the gifts that a mother gives and that we can give to them. But this last year, I've had a sweet little great niece come into my life. Her name is Molly, and that belongs to Lindsay, my nephew, and his beautiful wife, Hunter, and his beautiful wife, Lindsay. And I just spent 2 days with 2 other great nieces that come down through my other sister's line. So the song was really fun. I was already planning to do it because one of the things I appreciated, Gail, is you said, I'm really looking forward to your new work. And I'm like, well, it's not new, but it's new as of tonight because I may muck it up because I just put it into the guitar, but I'm very excited to share it. It's called Songs for Our Daughters, and it's for my mother, Barbara. You used to come, you'd lie down beside me. You sing me sad ballads until you fell asleep. You wore silver bracelets and skirts that were long, and I breathed in a love that was deep and was strong. You sang stormy weather, you lived through a fall. You wear your feet bare, you bring beads from Nepal. You gave me the tools to be a good wife and to never forget that one leans into life. In the lives of your children, your love is a song. These gifts will you leave us long after you are gone? The silver we use, the gifts of a muse, all that Mexican cloth, and how to make a fine stock, and songs for our daughters in the dawn, songs for our daughters in the dawn. You gave me white gloves, you taught me ladylike ways, how to look for a poem in the passage of days. Your legacy lasts, though we won't always touch. From daughter to daughter we will pass on so much. In the lives of our children, your love will be a song. These gifts, will we leave them long after we are gone? The tables we set and the friends we have met, the earrings we wear and our will to dare, and songs for our daughters in the dawn, songs for our daughters in the dawn. Jessie and Emma, Amanda and Barbara, Matey and Mary, Molly, Jane and Nell. You used to come, you'd lie down beside me. Pauline and Emma, Caitlin and Nell. You'd sing me sad ballads until you fell asleep. Whitney and Sasha, Morgana and Megan and Barbara. Almost made it all the way through. Thank you. So this is for a mother of another kind. I had the great good fortune of teaching a myth and fairy tale class when I was a professor at Franklin and Marshall, and I got to go down the rabbit holes of various, myths, religions, and stuff, which was great. This song is called All That Mystery, and all right, it's so beautiful.
Lovely sound.
It is. That's it. That was it.
That's all we get. Yay!
So a song is sometimes ongoing. It just keeps unfolding. And This was one of those because I kept trying to get that first verse just right. So there might be little stumbles on this first verse, but I think once I get going, after that, it'll be okay. And it's called All That Mystery, and at a certain point, I might ask you to help me with this. Are you there in Mary with your arms outstretched? Are you with Kokapelli dancing on a granite shelf? Are you there in Buddha's smile, in a wafer and some wine? Are you there in golden books? Are you, hold on, are you a trickster or benign? Where are you? Inside the so many forms seem to hold you, but how and where can we find the key? We sit every morning, we yoga afternoons, we're in the trees at solstice, howling at the moon. You're frankly pretty awesome. I could love you well, but it's hard to find you, hard to know you at all, where to locate you inside the mystery. I think you like to swirl a cape of homespun, or is it ermine? Uncertainty. Tell me that it's so clear, they do their best to explain. But I'm not talking about the famous you, the one that I walk with in the sun and the rain. They say I could come and see you in my Sunday best, unscroll your words from a sacred chest, get dunked in a river, bow 5 times a day on a prayer mat. I don't know you like that. I know about the fearsome side of the dancing Sheba. I think I finally made my peace with the suffering of Jesus, but you've got this darker side. Kind of freaks me out. Do you really like that over you? So many wars are fought that pain and rape and famine and torture are part of your in your name, devised and refined, are so many forms of cruelty. People tell me all your names and the places where you can be found. They say we've been made in your image and form. I really think it's the other way around. Sometimes you're white and stern and bearded on a golden throne. You're a lass on an Irish coaster, red hair wind blown. You're a dark Madonna. You're crucified and live. You destroy the universe. You teach us to forgive. You're on a night flight to Mecca. You're the moon, you're the sun. We find you in a foxhole in the flash of a gun. You're a snake, you're a cat, you're a votive on a shelf. We seek so far not to find you, but to discover ourselves. Have you noticed that all your names are full of nouns, so we can chant them endlessly. Still, I'll strap on my boots of faith, vintage though they are, and just like Hermes in his sandals, store amongst the stars, I'll find you in the bird call, in the meditation gong, in my morning cup of tea, and in voices raised in song, celebrating the mystery. Sing it. Mystery, one more time. Mystery. You're this, you're that. You are, you're not, you're dark, you light, and you must and you cannot be. It's all so binary. Let's celebrate the mystery. Love, Yahweh, Allah, Brahman, Brahman, Shiva, Vishnu, Mary, Jesus, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. In her, Sat Nam, Om, Om. Love, love. Thank you. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Judy Brackett Crowe. I'll put my glasses on. This is new. Needing them all the time. So it's an enormous pleasure. I work with Judy Crowe on the Sierra Poetry Festival committee, and we've just gotten to know each other in such a wonderful way. And I just love her poetry so much. She's taught creative writing and English composition and literature at Sierra College, as we heard so earlier. She's a longtime member of the community of writers that she's attended numerous times, and she serves on the Sierra Poetry Festival committee. Her stories and poems have appeared in scores of journals and anthologies, including Fourth River, Innisfree, The Maine Review, Canary, About Place, and Untidy Season. She has the most beautiful website. You can go check it out. Her poem, I love this, Judy, Love's Latitudes, won second place for the Fish Publishing Award, and she earned a pretty lovely accolade from Billy Collins. It's pretty cool. Her poetry chapbook, Flatwater, Nebraska Poems, was published in 2019, and her poetry collection, The Watching Sky, was published by Cornerstone Press and was awarded the 2025 Nebraska Book Award in Poetry. Just want to say, books are for sale, as you know. You can put them on your bill if you'd like, or you can get them over there, and they will be signing them. After Judy reads, we'll have Gail come up for one more poem, and then we will have a bit of a Q&A. So if you have some questions, be ready to answer. But in the meantime, please welcome Judy Crowe.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I did break my wrist, and I'm a little wobbly. I sprained my foot, but I'm here. So I just want to thank Beth and this wonderful place that we're going to miss so much. And it's great to be reading with Gail again. We've done this a few times over the years. And I'm going to start with a little bit of the theme, although slightly different tone, I guess, to these two poems. These are daughter-mother poems. This one is My Mother's Song and Dance. Am I close? Can you hear me? Is it good? Okay. The photo, creased and torn, faded, tells the story of my mother who sits on the porch steps, one of the babies on her lap. She's wearing red wedge sandals, a flowery cotton house dress, and an apron. Behind her, a corn broom leans against the railing. She's laughing or maybe singing, one hand raised as if to say, "Hello, here I am, Verna, and here's my daughter." My mother liked cowboy music and a nice waltz. I wonder if her singing voice was like mine, earnest, not pretty, not tuneful, but happy sometimes. Her music was the hustle and bustle of children. I'll never sing the saddest song she lived. When she was young, she went dancing with her friend Edith at the Grange Hall, making up fancy steps that everyone copied, she trying to catch the glance of Edith's tall, black-haired brother. She must have felt a lightheartedness I can only imagine, apprehension too, and a bit of fear. She often told us I'd rather dance than eat. Now she stands, swings the baby to her hip, picks up the broom and goes inside to try to sweep clean the darkest corners of the house. I never heard her sing. I never saw her dance. And in this poem, she's kind of in the background, and actually winds up in the back seat. And that was kind of her place in life. There were 7 of us. This is called Leaving Home. Our pregnant mom drives the green Studebaker. I'm in the front seat, baby sister on my lap, wax paper wrapped bologna sandwiches and a jug of water next to me, brother and other sister and our dad in the back seat, our few worldly goods at our feet and in the trunk. This is Wyoming now, the roads as straight as, the land as flat as home, but new to us. Tumbleweeds tumbling, jackrabbits bounding, stars low and cold, all of us sleeping, past day, past dusk, past home. All of us sleeping, except our mom driving, and then she is too, and then we aren't. Our dad shouting, reaching over the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, guiding the car to a safe stop, not a steep or dangerous ditch. Still, we could have been. Our heads bobbing, little ones crying. We sit in that ditch for a while, eating sandwiches, not talking, climbing out to pee in the weeds. Peering down at us, still as statues, a pair of reindeer, we ask. Antelope, our mom says. And then our dad takes the wheel, our mom climbs into the back seat, and we wobble our way up the bank to the highway. Our dad saved us that night, he and the stars and the otherworldly antelope. Saved us for everything new. And here are a couple from Flatwater. This is, I'm having trouble reading this, getting it situated with the light. Geography of a cloud. Once, a long ago winter's day, she drew a huge map of her world on butcher paper, using every crayon stub in the small cedar box that held the bright, clear colors of her life, an immense cloud-shaped world, endless, with hills and wide rivers, stick people, kind people like teacher and her aunties and her friend Jane, houses, horses, dogs, sunflowers, and hollyhocks. The torn blue edges that were the sky and whatever lived beyond the fall-off places and beyond the sky. Roiling deserts, flat black seas, icebound lands, triangle creatures with wiry whiskers and many legs. Later, hundreds of thousands of miles later, bittersweet and periwinkle and Prussian blue and flesh and magenta later, and thistle, salmon, gold and silver later. After decades in the fall-off places, she found herself in that cloud-shaped map again, the colorful world still smelling of crayon and cedar, of onions and summer, and of the fields she'd looked down upon from her childhood window in that long-ago time, surprised to find her map so small and so red, blue, and yellow strange. And this is the winter's rocks. On a sunny, cold spring afternoon, the earth still frozen, he harvests the winter's bounty of rocks, buckets full, and muses, as he does every year, what a crop, too bad they're not edible. A saver of string too short to be saved, he uses everything his land gives up, curses or gifts, burdock and chickweed, garlic and onions, potatoes and peas. As the sun falls behind the far hills, he straightens and drifts across his field to the old graveyard, to the time and weather-smoothed and sunken stones, some with faint angels and lambs etched in pink granite, none more recent than 100 years ago. He always visits the old man lying between two wives. Interesting rumbles down there, he thinks, and spots a patch of wild mustard sprouting between a lamb and an angel, plucks a pocketful, and goes back to sort the rocks and fill the ruts in the lane and make stone soup for supper. And this one is called Nebraska. Oh yes, it's flat mostly. Plains, prairie, laconic landscape, windswept Midwestern everything. The heartland, flatter than a pancake. The Nebraska line, that jokey name for when the heart monitor shows a line like the east-west roads across the plains. Except, notice the rolling hills, the buttes, the bluffs along the rivers, the Missouri, the Platte, the North Loop, the Niobrara, the Dismal. From the tops of the bluffs you can see plaid fields, the blackest dirt in springtime, furrowed and waiting for green, prairie grasses tall enough to hide in, to get lost in, and strange rock outcrops, volcanic ash, clay, sandstone, a horse, a table, a chimney. The settlers, passers through from forest lands and higher hills, were curious about, even frightened by these rugged, soaring monoliths. Maxon thought if he climbed the tallest rock, he could see the parentheses of seas on left and right, the seas he knew he'd get to see one day. His sister Karis said he'd see only more prairie, Iowa, maybe the Dakotas, Wyoming, Missouri, maybe Buffalo. And so he never climbed. He never saw the sea. Instead, he swam in tall grass prairies, Indian grass, big blue stem switchgrass, deep enough to drown in. Okay, a couple from The Watching Sky. July mornings watching bluebirds, listening. Morning after morning, in the dawn's wan light, 2 western bluebirds flash blue and orange among the tallest black oaks, the Douglas firs, the deodars, the ponderosas, their chitterings bright sparks against the green. They sound young and frisky, boyish, sometimes harmonizing in sublime, ethereal song, sometimes squabbling. I decide they are brothers. And then they're gone, each, I imagine, taking his own path, adventuring, one flying into the wind, fierce wing-stopping stasis, the other coasting in balmy currents of least resistance, hoping they'll find one another once again in bird years later. In October, say, back in my trees, singing to me their travelers' tales of other dawns and other trees, pinyon pines and aspens, flights with cousins, danger tales, pirate tales, country bird and city bird tales. Their autumn song in lower register, their feathers rough, the oaks and conifers dry and dusty, the maple fiery, the dawn light weak and watery. My folly, to think they'll even notice me, to even think I own those trees. Okay, this is Watching the Sky, and it has an epigraph from a W.S. Merwin poem. The poem is Young Man Picking Flowers, and the lines are, all at once he is no longer young, with his handful of flowers. Watching the sky. All at once he is no longer, and yet he will be always in the beginning and in the forgetting, in the young man picking flowers, frangipani perhaps, whose scent calls up what's been forgotten, but not forgotten. And in his dreams of wood thrushes, of swallows, blackbirds, of morning sparrows, the garden at dawn and the watching sky, he sees his grandmother watching the sky, and his mother always looking back, wondering, and he wanders down the small roads, following the dog, following the sounds, hymns for his father, bells and bleating, dying sheep, the old voices and the new. Wandering always in wonder at the trees without names, at these green hills, these sun-hit fields, at these dark mountains on these blessed days, at the vespers hush in the gloaming, at the imperfect that remains perfectly imperfect, at the unfinished that now is finished. Okay, got a couple of new ones here. We saw an exhibit at San Francisco Museum of Modern Art by an Australian sculptor named Ron Muick. And he creates these representational sculptures of people, outsized or very tiny. And he casts them in clay and silicone and fiberglass. And the one in this poem, he doesn't have a title, but this man is sitting in a corner, crouching, and he's 7 feet tall. It's called Big Man, after Ron Muick. The biggest man, Crayola flesh, no shoes, no clothes, no hair, sits alone in a white corner, a pensive man or a ruined man, his half-closed eyes askance. Silent viewers tiptoe past, try to catch his eye, will him to rise, dress, walk through crowds and clouds, find a shaded bench under a sycamore, and disappear. One small girl wants to sit beside him here, hold his hand, listen to his life. And here's another new one, newer one. It's called Up in the Air Junior Birdman. And my kids used to have this game that they would play, chasing each other around and yelling and running into things. And when I wrote this poem, I thought that was a good title for the poem. Up in the Air Junior Birdman. The splintery wooden seat, the scratchy rope that smells like horses, that cuts into your hands. The muscly leaning back and fro, pumping your legs fast, trying to fly up and around the creaking branch in the granddaddy cottonwood, to circle the branch, to wait for the branch to crack, for the rope to break, wanting to leave this tree, to leave this world, to reach the clouds. Here's another one that comes from a childhood memory of mine that has some truth in it and some fiction. It's called Run Sheep Run, a game we used to play. 6 kids, 7, 8, 9, summer tanned, barefoot, gather at the playground. Early evening, almost time for supper and lightning bugs, time enough for a game. 2 leave and sprint past the monkey bars, the squeaky merry-go-round, past the cranky old man's house, circle around, quiet as cats, to the back porch of hard-of-hearing Mrs. Hahn, who's nice to them sometimes. Billy, the little lost lamb, slides under the porch, brushes aside spider webs and checks for beetles and roly-polies. Lily Rose whispers, "Quiet," turns, runs back to the others in a roundabout way. The 4, little Eddie, Candy, Joe, and Izzy, watch as she draws a map to the lamb with a stick in the dirt. Lines and circles, stones and marbles for landmarks. Finally, marking X with a flourish, she shouts, "Run, sheep, run!" And the others whoop and scatter to search for Billy, bring him back to the fold. Whoever finds him will choose the next lamb to lead to danger and return the new cartographer. Another night, Billy leads little Eddie to a new hideaway, and they leave him there until the sky grows dark and Orion's stars blink down at them. One more, new one. This is the A to Z of Starlight. The night sky shrivels, spews light, from robin's egg to lapis to cobalt. The night grows cold. The girl, 2nd story, 3rd house from the corner, sleeps through the night under ceiling stars and dreams of blue tomorrows. The other girl, 3rd story, 4 houses to the right, slips into a glacier blue dress with ink black velvet bows. Tonight's waxing gibbous moon remembers the night's A stars, Acamar, Adara, Aldebaran, Andromeda, Arcturus. The black oak's night leaves glisten and curl, oblivious of blue, of A stars, of B stars, of Cassiopeia, of every last star that's not even a star. Thank you. I think Gail is coming up, and we're each going to read one more poem, right? And I'll read mine first, my last one first. Okay, ready? Okay, this is a new poem, and it's called the Yuba. And the epigraph here is Ubaseo was the Nisenan term for waterway, and that's where we get Yuba. Snowbanked sky blue puddles, 8,000 feet, high Sierra, birth of the Yuba. Undammed wild river, pushes hundreds of miles to the feather, the Sacramento, the Pacific. Hurtles down the mountain, uprooting manzanita, kitkadizzi, aspen saplings. So cold, so fast. Slices through granite canyons, tumbles boulders, or, sometimes lazy, meanders, emerald bright, sinuous, always underneath, silent Nisenan echoes. Life-giving, life-taking, home to steelhead salmon, miners' dreams, miners' desecrations, kayakers, swimmers, river dreamers, gold-flecked smooth river bottom stones, hydraulic mine mercury spoiled fish, narrows, widen, twists, murky, clear, inviting, threatening, indifferent. And summer warm, pauses, pools downriver, families swim and sun, safe. One boy fantitions the waters with sticks and rocks at the shore, cups tadpoles in his small hands, says, Yuba. Thank you.
Judy and I have been doing some traveling together in the last few years. Along with Carla, we went to, Carla's here too. The three of us have been traveling, and we went to Alaska a couple of years ago, and this year we went to the Santa Fe Literary Festival. Oh, no, we went to Canada. Sorry, we went to Canada. Yeah, I went to Alaska, but that was not the same trip. Okay, this is called The Mothers Speak, What We Want, and I wrote this back in the day when I was living here, and my kids were not little, but not quite teenagers yet, I think. We drive our kids to soccer in minivans with power windows, or to dance class in little cars that rattle and rust. We sing with them or to them on the highway up the mountain, Carole King, James Taylor on the tape, or with no kids in the car, just our best friends on the way to some women's event. Everybody speaks at once, laughing. Or we drive silently with one friend who cries in the car because of what she wants. She wants her girl to get some special help because she's slow in school. She wants someone to see that girl's sweetness behind the sullen mouth. And your friend who does your hair, she wants her boy to make some friends, to eat better. And your friend next door, she wants her girls to be good at math the way she never could. The mom at the soccer game confides she wants to yell less, listen better. The camera pulls back and all the mothers are talking, crying, holding each other in cars and kitchens, laughing on the mountainside. We want our girls to play a sport, our boys to dance. We want our kids to make a joke and grin, have gardens, sleep soundly, and wake up in a safe house. We want our girls to speak their minds even if their voices shake, to look in the mirror and see themselves, whatever their size and shape, through our eyes, how beautiful they are, the way their souls shine through. We want our boys to slip through a peaceful window in history where no one dresses them in olive green, shouts in their faces, sends them off to have their lovely bodies torn and ruined. We want our sons to grow up, read Thoreau, play football on the dusky grass, toss their babies in small bursts of joy. We want to pause in the clarity of this bright day and find our place, how each of us is our own brave mother's child, each a link to the children who hold our hope in their familiar hands, to stand together on this mountainside and know we have the power, by adding 1 or 2 or 3 good humans to the pot, to change the world.
Thank you, Gail and Judy, so much. And now we have time for a little Q&A, if people would like. And I just want to say, I read on your website that, like other writers who've said it before you, that you have a wonderful thing about that words are worth 1,000 words are worth a picture, or whatever. You have the opposite. But you also say that, like many writers have said, that you write to find out what you think. And one of the things listening to your two sets of poems tonight that I'm really struck by, and I think it would be wonderful to hear from each of you, is where do you come, how do these ideas, I love it when you're asked as a songwriter this, where does this idea come from? But you have so many third-person poems that have more of an omniscient narrator and are taking on often these children at a time. I think it's because of Nebraska. And your poems are often very in the personal, where you are starting from. And I'd just be interested to hear from both of you, where do poems come from? And just to give us a bit of inspiration, actually, but also just a sense of where things begin. Judy? I'll actually pull this down.
You know, I can't really say. Sometimes I can. Sometimes it's just an image that comes to mind, and or a memory, and it just kind of hangs around for a while until I have to do something with it, and I'm never quite sure. And sometimes it doesn't work. I am, and maybe from some of the poems that I read, I just love living where I live now and where I used to live, and trying to reconcile those two landscapes. And I kind of wrestle with that a little bit in poetry, and I'm just moved by the beauty around us, whether it's the river or the trees or the plains, and that's, you know, they just come from everywhere, and I jump on them when I think they might be worth something. Not well right now.
I think your writing is a little more cerebral than mine, and I admire that. I really like that. Well, some of the ones you read tonight weren't so much, but some of your poems are more a little more abstract, I think, than mine, and they're more grounded in nature probably than mine are. But anyway, mine are just emotional responses to what happens in my life. So, you know, I just respond to the things that happen to me. And I've tried over the years to not be such a, what used to be called a confessional poet, which women were kind of condemned with by the male poets who ruled the poetry community for quite a long time there. That's really changed in the last few years. But confessional poetry was sort of looked down upon by the male poetry community as women's subjects like children and family and so I used to try to step out of that, but it turned out that that's really what I want to write about.
I'm struck. Maggie McCaig's here, and I think one of her wonderful songs is about the milk in her coffee, and it goes into where all the milk comes from. And she told me that she was like in the kitchen doing something with the milk, and it was just like, oh my God, and she was just looking for a piece of paper. You know, does that ever happen for you, where there's just this sort of, you know, like,
Kind of.
yeah,
You do. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
As you say, you have to jump on it. If you don't, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. So some questions here. Anybody have something for our beautiful authors to talk about us with? Scott, you're a poet. You can come up with a question, surely.
I have a question.
Maggie has a question.
I have a question. That comment a little bit earlier when you decide, I don't know, Gail, if you said it, that, or Judy, that it was you have this idea and you decide it's worth it to pursue it more. So that's kind of like your inner critic, right? That's saying, well, this idea was worth it, but this idea was not worth it. So that's an interesting area for me always, because I have this thing, like I will put things on voice memo, whatever it is, right? I'll just recite it because I don't trust myself to know at the time whether it's worthy or not. Do you go through that sort of like you come upon something that you didn't think was worthy, and then later on you realize, oh, that's actually kind of good?
I'm trying really hard not to pay any attention to the inner censor, because I think it works a lot better if you just go ahead and write it, and then you can always take out stuff later, change it, alter it. But if you don't do it because you're telling yourself that's not good, some good stuff can get away. So I almost always just write everything I'm feeling at the moment and then work on that later.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember telling my students, and I do this myself, that I write long, no matter whatever it is, whether it's a poem or an essay or a piece of short fiction. You just get it all out there, and even if it doesn't seem to fit at the time, and then pare it back and find out what's really in there that's worth thinking about or talking about. Yeah.
Questions? Sure. Yes, please.
Well, I was really intrigued by about the landscape, use of landscape in both your work, because maybe not so much a question, maybe it will evolve, but the dimension to landscapes, when Judy, you were reading these very detailed descriptions of plant life and geologic landscapes. I guess one question I would ask is, I can kind of feel the answer, is where the outer landscape becomes an inner landscape. Because you spoke a minute ago about reconciling the two places, Nebraska with the foothills. You're really implying, I guess, a struggle to keep yourself whole as those two landscapes impinge on you and help create you. So that's, I guess, one question, and then I had some other.
Okay. Well, I might just say something about that. The epigraph to Flatwater is a wonderful children's book, and I mention this almost every time I read. It's called What You Know First, and it's by Patricia McLaughlin, who's written some great children's books. And the man in the story tells his daughter, who doesn't want to move from the Midwest, from the Dust Bowl actually, out west, and he just tells his daughter, what you know first stays with you. And I think that is so true. If I'd come from there and gone, from California and moved to the Midwest, it would be, I'd probably be a totally different person, but it would all be in there. And I think that's true. What about you, Gail? You were from the Midwest, right?
Yeah, I think I shook it off.
Good for you.
I grew up in Cleveland, It's not something that I really wanted to focus on very much. I had a very pleasant childhood, but I moved to California because I felt like there was a uniformity in the Midwest where everybody had kind of the same opinions and had the same expectations, and I really wanted to be someplace where everybody was different and everybody could wear whatever they wanted to wear and act however they wanted to act. And I was very gratified when I got here in 1978. It worked out really well for me. So.
And maybe address that inner landscape, outer landscape a little bit, Gail, because that's interesting, intriguing quality of that.
I am. Thank you for asking me to say something about that, because I haven't been using that in my work traditionally at all, I don't think, or at least not consciously. But I've really been going through, in the past year, since the death of Charles, a real change in how I feel like I want to write. I've always written a really strict kind of controlled narrative poetry with a story to tell, very accessible for other people to listen to or to read. And I'm having this powerful desire to I'm just working on this poem called Same River, and it's about, I don't know what it's about, I think it's autobiographically about how the river feels in your blood and your bones, and it's just much more free and uncontrolled, and when I read it to people, they're not sure they understand, and they have to take the poem and study it a lot more, and I'm not sure I understand, and right now I'm just letting it happen. I'm just going to see what happens. If I try to think about whether this is really the right thing to be doing or not, I'll stop myself from doing it, like I was saying earlier. So I'm just, I think that there's a lot more of the environment and the world of nature working into my poetry now in a kind of strange and interesting way. I hope it's interesting.
I think it's so particularly interesting because of your literary magazine, because Canary takes on so much of the environment and ecological stuff. Right. How wonderful.
Yeah, I read submissions every quarter, and I usually get several hundred submissions that I read in the course of a month. So I really get inundated with what's going on in different parts of the world in terms of what's happening to the environment, things that most people send poems in which they're lamenting how the way things that they loved when they were a child are now desecrated. You know, the rivers are contaminated, the places that they loved are gone, and so it's all pretty sad. And it's hard to keep reading all that, but I think that is working its way now into my own psyche a bit.
Great question, thank you, Judy. One last question, or did you have something you were going to add?
No, I just say I have no idea, and I probably don't want to think too much about it, because then I'd just confuse myself and just throw up my hands and do something else.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm interested in your process, both of yours, because I'm an artist, and at this point,
As in fine artists.
like
We're all
drawing. Yes,
artists.
sorry, yes. And so I'm a drawing, painting, all that kind of artist, like hands-on. And at this point in my life, I have women over. We do art night. We do stuff like that. Both of these guys, she's a writer, he's a musician. We all just kind of like share things together, and I feel like I pour into creativity, and I'm interested in the different processes of all the different art forms. And so when you said, Gail, that you were working on a river poem, I can't quite fathom the process of that. So it's like for me in my life right now, I'm working on a Highland cow. A Highland cow for my daughter, for her room, and I have one sketch, and it's very, my art nowadays is so different than when it was when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I would sit and get it done. And like now, I pick up the Highland cow sometimes, and I put it down.
Pause for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I think we're all hearing Highland cow. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
A Highland cow.
Yes, I'm sketching a Highland cow.
That we have all heard it correctly.
Okay, yes. And then I'll set down the Highland cow picture that I'm working on, and then I'll pick up a different thing and paint something else, and then I'll come back. So I just kind of like go with it, and where before, like I said, I would just crank it out and get it done. And so when you said you started a river one, and it sounds to me like you work on it and then you set it down and then you come back to it. What are your processes like?
Yeah, in Scotland they call it a Highland coo, by the way. That's a really interesting question, and I probably was more like you're describing when I was young. I think I tried to sit down and get it done. I had an idea of what I wanted to say in this poem, and I had a message planned before I started, and I don't do that anymore. Charles was really a big influence on me in that way. He said, you should never start it with knowing what you're going to do. You should always start it and see where it wants to go. And that was really true, and that was really helpful. And I do that now. I just see what will happen. And I think you would benefit as a visual artist by, Peter talks to me about this a lot. He's an abstract expressionist. And you know, you just have to start and see what happens. Although, if you specifically want to make a Highland coo, then I guess that's what you got to do. But yeah, but maybe you should let it go. You know, maybe it's going to turn out to be an abstract Highland coo that nobody will even know what it is. But you know, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just very organic, and you know, things get kind of mushed around and set aside, and I can't really, I'm not very organized about the way I do things, and then finally it either all comes together or it doesn't. And I agree with you, if you kind of know what you want to say, you know, why bother? Whether it's a short story or a poem.
Yeah, because you aren't going to probably learn anything by writing it if you already know what you're going to do. And learning something from it is really what you're trying to do. Not the end result, but the process. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Sands, I would like to offer a benediction.